Hello my friends, I hope you're having a lovely day, and for today's video I am reviewing Blazing Chrome, which I finally had the chance to play. I've been super excited about this game, just been super busy with other games, and I finally had the chance to sit down and play, and oh my god. This game is so amazing. It's everything I wanted it to be. Obviously, when the game first came out, people were like, this is Contra, just not called Contra. And yeah, that's exactly what Blazing Chrome is. It's a love letter to Contra, basically, and plays pretty much exactly like Contra and is heavily, heavily influenced by Contra. But it's not Contra in name, which I guess is perfect timing because there is a new Contra game coming out and it's coming to the Switch, but it looks very much not like Contra. I'm going to give that game a shot. I don't know, it looks a little rough so far, but I'm going to give it a shot. But for those fans who feel disappointed in how that looks so far, or for fans who love classic Contra and need a fix, Blazing Chrome is without a doubt the way to go. Blazing Chrome might seem like an easy game for me to review, and in one regard it is, because it's awesome. I love it, seriously, I think it's fantastic. But I have to recognize that nostalgia is definitely tied to my experience of the game because it brings back those type of memories because it's so well executed, and like I said, it feels like it was ripped from that era. And there's going to be plenty of people who own a Switch who weren't born in that era or haven't played Contra or haven't had an arcade experience, so I don't know how that's going to play out for those people. They may play Blazing Chrome and really love it and look to find other games that replicate that experience from days gone by or now. But maybe it'll just feel, bland to them. I honestly don't know. So I have to recognize that because I'm an old person, I'm 37, 36, I was born in 82. I've been playing games since the Atari 7800, so in my single digits, and I played on everything all the way through those years. So I had plenty of experience with all the Contra games, and I hung out in arcades when those used to be a thing here. And Blazing Chrome is aiming right at those players. It wants to be like, look, do you remember when games were like this? Do you remember when Contra was like this? Do you remember the experience of walking into the arcade and seeing all the flashing lights and being wowed by the visuals on screen and just having all this over-the-top crazy stuff? The attract mode in an arcade game that would like pull you over and get you to try the game out and be like, man, this game is awesome. That's what Blazing Chrome tries to replicate, and it does it perfectly. But that's going to be completely lost on a large amount of people. I don't want to keep harping on the nostalgic part of the game, but it is a huge part of Blazing Chrome. But I'll talk about gameplay in general a little bit. This really is ridiculously simple when it comes to gameplay. You play as a character that shoots everything. That's it. That's the whole game. You run and you jump, but you're always pushing forward. Shooting. That's like, seriously, that's it. There's enemies that take one hit. There's enemies that take a couple hits. There's bosses that you have to take out. And you can get weapon power-ups along the way from drops that come from the sky, just like Contra. There's like a weird purple wormy shot and a laser beam that you can charge up, and your regular like rapid-fire shot, and I'm forgetting, oh, there's like a grenade shot that you can do. And you can swap between them, but if you die, whatever weapon you were holding is taken out of the rotation until you get another drop from it again. Then there's a little for the lack of a better term, familiars that you can get that are robots, and one will make you fast, and one will shoot for you, and one will give you a shield. And that's really as sophisticated as the game gets. Other than that, you're jumping, you can do a dodge roll, and that's it. There's really not a lot to talk about in the gameplay, and I don't mean it as a negative, it's just very straightforward. The game goes out of its way to throw a ridiculous amount of enemies at you. There's never like a moment of downtime unless it's a cutscene, which are very quick. It's just run and gun the whole way, and that's what makes it, for me, so much fun, because it is non-stop action. The game is constantly trying to impress you with like the next big set piece, the next wave of enemies, the next level, the next way you're going to progress through that level. It's just 0 to 60, 0 at the start and 60 the whole time. It's just, oh, it's so great. It encapsulates like the craziness of 80s and 90s action movies, which is what I think the Contra games originally tried to do, and other games followed in suit, and that's what Blazing Chrome does, and I love it. It just feels so good. It's so visceral, it's so crazy, it's so over the top, it's ridiculously fun to play. The visuals are such a hard thing to talk about too, because I think the game looks fantastic, but the problem is I know a lot of people look at it and go, just another sprite game, but Blazing Chrome, and again, as I've said, Blazing Chrome doesn't just replicate things from a bygone era. It does it to a point where it feels like it could have been taken directly out of that era. It's not. I understand it's mimicking, but it feels like it's a part of it. Like it's throughout the game's DNA on a much deeper level than other games that try and do this thing. And that goes with the visuals. The visuals, I'm thinking of, it's very hard for me to think in a mindset that's not like from years ago, because there's so many things in this game that really impress me visually, where I know if I was in the arcade or if I was playing on my Genesis or my Super Nintendo, I'd be like, oh my god, how are they doing this? This graphics are never going to get any better. There's just so many stages here that do some really cool things that I looked through the lens of, boy, I would be so impressed by this back in the day, but I can't help but be impressed now. And I know on a technical standpoint, it's really not impressive. There's artistry, and it takes a ton of work, and I really appreciate it. But what I'm saying is the hardware isn't really being pushed. You know, we're talking about sprites, not polygons, and I'm not taking away the hard work of the developers that worked on this game and chose sprites, because like I said, there's a lot that goes into that, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Basically, it's not, you know, it's not like a game that's really going to push the system to its limits as far as what it can do, but I can't break out of that mindset. There's so much here that just looks so damn cool and still impresses me, even though it's not impressive for what the Switch can actually do. The soundtrack is exactly the same thing. It feels like it's from that era. It uses like the same kind of samples and just the style of music. It's perfect. It's pitch perfect for trying to hit that mark from back in the day. It feels like a combination of things you would hear in Contra 3 and Contra Hardcore, with a little bit of arcade stuff mixed in, but it's absolutely perfect. It's very high tempo, very just over the top like the game is itself, so it keeps your blood pumping while you're playing. Also, I don't want to spoil it, but the final track in the game, the credits song, is CD quality. And oh my god, it's so good. It's the perfect type of song for the ending of the game. I love it. I wrote down the name of the song because I was like, oh, I gotta hear this song again. I don't know just off the top of my head if the song was created specifically for this game or it existed before, but oh my god, it's perfect. If you're a fan of, like, let's say 80s action movies, you should get a very good idea of what the vibe is from the song. But yeah, soundtrack in general is fantastic. The sound effects go with that as well. They also have digitized voices, which was a big part of 16-bit games and arcade experiences back in the day. And it's perfect. It's, again, perfect. They're crunchy sounding voices that you have to, like, listen closely to say, like, what the hell are they saying? But that's what it was back in the day. That's what happened. So this is such a ridiculous love letter to those games in so many different ways, but it's not like just a love letter in the sense that it's trying to copy it. Like I said a million times now, it feels like it came from that era. I really don't have any gripes personally with this game. It's exactly what I wanted and expected. I guess I should mention that it is a short game, again, which is something, if you've played Contra games, you should know what you're getting here. You can definitely beat the game within an hour. There's things to unlock, like characters that present unique challenges. There's difficulty things to unlock too. So there are reasons to replay, certainly, and things to tackle afterwards, but, you know, it's not like a wealth of content that'll keep you coming back month after month. And you can play through solo or co-op, so adding in a friend for co-op is good too, but yeah, not a ton of content here. Also, in my mind, there were 3 specific portions of the game where there was some slowdown, which didn't last long and wasn't bad. But I don't know if 2 of the parts where it happened were on purpose, because Contra games and games of this type back in the day had slowdown. It was a thing. And 2 of these moments happened during a particular boss fight, and I think it might be done on purpose, but I'm not sure. Then there's another part where there's just a ton of enemies on screen, and again, I don't know if they're replicating how the game would have slowed down back then, or it's just legitimate slowdown, but, you know, that'll annoy, I'm sure, some people today. It's not an issue for me. And then the only other complaint is sometimes you'll get a weapon drop, and when you pick up the weapon, say you shoot it in the air and it falls down on you, you'll automatically switch to that weapon, and depending on what it is, you could screw yourself over. So you'd be shooting like the regular rapid-fire gun, and you shoot down a thing out of the sky, and you get the purple worm laser, whatever the hell it is, which has a short range and fires pretty much completely differently. And depending on what you're doing at the time, you might end up screwing yourself over, so you just have to be careful of that. But outside of those very minor complaints, I got nothing bad to say. So for me, Blazing Chrome is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I wanted from this type of game. The bosses are insane and have multiple layers to them. The level design is really cool. There's lots of variety in the levels. There's some really awesome set pieces. There's things that break up the usual run left to right, like hover bikes that you ride, and like a special tunnel section that you fly through. There's mechs that you can ride. It does a really good job of breaking things up as you're going. But like I said, because it's such a quick experience, you never get tired of it. It's just, man, it's perfect. It's perfect. I've played a lot of games that aim to mimic the titles from back in my day. And some of them do a good job, some of them do a great job, but very, very few feel like they are part of that era. And Blazing Chrome is that. I desperately want a sequel. So bad. I want it to have more levels, and that's really the only thing I want. Just more levels, and I'd be so happy with it. But like I said in the beginning, nostalgia is a huge part of it, so I honestly don't know how to review this for people who are not tied to those games, or the arcade, or Contra, or any of that experience. I don't know what they're gonna think. I don't know what you guys are gonna think. I can tell you how I feel about it and what it did for me, but like I said, I have to be fair and tell you why I have some of those feelings. So if you're thinking about getting it, and you do, please leave a comment on this review, because I want to know how it turned out for you. I want to know what you think, because everybody's from different eras, and this game might not mean something to you, but for me, man, oh man, fantastic. All I've been thinking about since I played it was, I cannot wait to have my friends play this, and I cannot wait to run through it again. There's going to be so many of my friends who are going to be really into this game because they love Contra. I grew up with some of them playing Contra, so we've played it so many times, Contra and Super C and Contra 3, all those games, and now I can be like, hey, there's a new game out. It's basically Contra, but it's not called Contra. And we can sit down on the couch together and play. Oh man, it's such a nostalgic experience for me. And I know you're tired of hearing that, but that's a big part of what's going on in this game. So I love it. Can't recommend it enough. If you're a fan of Contra, or you grew up with those games like I did, or you're missing that arcade experience, you have to get this game. Do not hesitate. You will not be upset. But if you're not one of those people, like I said, let me know. But that is my review. So thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's very much appreciated. Also, thank you to our Patreon members, because your support lets me do what I do. So thank you so much. It's ridiculously appreciated. You guys are absolutely wonderful that have joined up. Everybody watching this is wonderful, but the crazy people who have decided to join Patreon, an extra thank you to them. And that's it for today. So I will be back with some sort of video tomorrow, but until then, have a lovely day and a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a few short hours.